It started with a scream that tore through the quiet night. A woman's voice, broken and desperate. "Please, Femi, don't do this to me." Inside the luxury mansion on Banana Island, Chitara was on her knees, trembling on the cold white marble floor. Her makeup had mixed with tears, leaving dark lines down her cheeks. Her phone lay shattered beside her. Femi, tall and calm, stood over her in his black silk shirt, his face unreadable. "This is how you thank me," he said softly. "After everything I've done for you." Her heart thudded in her chest. She could barely breathe. "Femi, I love you," she whispered. He bent down, touched her chin with 2 fingers, and smiled. That same smile that once made her feel safe. "That's the problem, Chitara. You think this was ever about love." He leaned close and whispered something in her ear that froze her blood. Then he said it again, louder this time so she would never forget. "This is the cost of loving a billionaire." Her eyes widened, terror filling them. And before she could beg again, the door creaked open, and someone else stepped in. That was how it all began. 2 years earlier, Chitara was just another girl in Surulere. Small flat, big dreams, and a heart too kind for her own good. She worked at a boutique in Yaba, earning just enough to buy Gary, beans, and her mother's medicine. Her mom, Mama Grace, was always sick, but she smiled through the pain. "God will bless us one day," Mama Grace always said. That blessing came on a night that didn't look like one. Rain poured hard, lightning flashing, when Mama Grace fainted right in front of their small house. Chitara screamed for help. Neighbors peeped through windows but did not come out. Then a black G-Wagon stopped. A man stepped out, tall, dark, calm. His clothes looked simple, but the watch on his wrist cost more than their house. "Get her in the car," he said. That man was Femi. He didn't ask who they were. He didn't care about the mud or the rain. He carried Mama Grace like she was made of glass. In less than 15 minutes, they were at a private hospital. The doctor refused to start treatment without a deposit. 450,000 naira before admission. Chitara's eyes filled with tears. "Please, sir, my mother will die." Femi said nothing. He brought out a black card and placed it on the counter. "Save her." That night, Mama Grace lived. And that was the beginning of everything. Chitara thanked him over and over, but Femi just nodded. "Take care of her," he said. Then he turned and left. But he didn't really leave. 2 days later, food supplies arrived at their door, rice, oil, noodles, and even drugs from the same hospital pharmacy. The delivery note said, "From Femi." Chitara told her mom, "Maybe he's just kind." Mama Grace smiled. Angels still walk among men. But Amaka, Chitara's best friend, wasn't smiling. "This is Lagos," she said. "Men don't help for free. Watch yourself." Chitara brushed it off. "You always think bad about people." Weeks passed. Femi visited sometimes, bringing fruit and flowers. He spoke gently, always asking, "Are you okay? And do you eat well?" He never flirted, never forced, just listened. That made her feel safe, and slowly, she began to trust him. One evening, he asked her to dinner. "You need a break," he said. "You've been through a lot." She wore her best gown, borrowed from Amaka, and Femi took her to a restaurant she'd only seen on TV. The food was so fancy she didn't even know the names. He laughed when she tried to pronounce lasagna. "You're cute," he said. She smiled shyly. "I'm just not used to all this." "That's fine," he said. "You deserve better. You deserve peace." That was the night she started falling for him. Soon he started picking her up after work, buying her small gifts, a phone, a wristwatch, a gold necklace. He called her my peace. She called him my destiny. Amaka warned her again. Femi is too perfect. There's always something behind perfection. But Chitara was already gone. When love enters a poor heart, it feels like a miracle. Then came the night he said, "Your area is not safe. Come stay with me for a few days." At first she refused, but her mum insisted. "Go, my daughter. He's been good to us. Maybe he truly loves you." So she packed a small bag and followed him to Banana Island. The gate opened silently, revealing a mansion that looked like heaven. Marble floors, chandeliers, swimming pool, everything sparkling like a movie. "This is your room," Femi said, opening a door filled with new clothes, shoes, even a perfume she once mentioned liking. Chitara was speechless. "You did all this for me?" He smiled. "You make me happy." That night, as she lay on the soft bed, tears of joy rolled down her face. For the first time, she felt lucky. She thought, maybe God finally remembered me. But what she didn't know was that luck sometimes wears a mask. A month later, she noticed little things. He didn't like her talking to Amaka anymore. "That girl is jealous of you," he said. "Stay away." He checked her phone. He decided what she wore. He told her who she could visit. When she asked why, he said, "I'm just protecting you." And she believed him, until one night when protection turned into possession. Femi came home late, smelling of alcohol, his eyes cold. "Who called you today?" he asked quietly. "No one," she said, confused. He grabbed her phone. "You think I'm stupid? Femi, you're hurting me." He slapped her. The sound echoed through the mansion. Silence. Tears filled her eyes. "You hit me?" He looked at her like she was nothing. "Don't ever make me doubt your loyalty again." Then he kissed her forehead, as if he hadn't just broken her. "I love you," he said, and that was how it started. The slow, painful fall of a girl who thought love was enough. But that was only the beginning of the price she would pay. Because the night she discovered what Femi was really capable of was the night her soul began to slip away. The next morning, Chitara woke up to sunlight pouring through the wide glass windows. The mansion was quiet, too quiet. Femi had already left for work. On the bedside table, he left a note written in his perfect, neat handwriting. "Don't forget to smile today. You're mine. F." First, it made her blush. But after what happened last night, the note felt heavy, possessive, like a collar around her neck. She went to the mirror and saw the faint red mark on her cheek. Her heart sank. "He didn't mean it," she whispered to herself. "He was just angry." But deep down, something inside her cracked a little. The house staff moved quietly around her. Drivers, maids, and guards. All polite, all careful, all afraid of Femi. Nobody looked her in the eye for long. When she tried to chat with one of the maids, the woman just smiled nervously and said, "Madam, please. I no fit talk too much. Oga no like am." That was her first real clue that she was not free. She spent her day sitting by the pool, scrolling through her phone. She wanted to call Amaka but hesitated. Femi had warned her about that. "You don't need friends who fill your head with nonsense," he'd said. So she called her mother instead. "Mummy, how are you feeling?" "I'm fine, my daughter," Mama Grace said softly. "Femi came by this morning. He dropped money for my drugs." Chitara froze. "He came to the house?" "Yes, so. He said you're busy. I told him God will bless him." Something about that felt wrong. Femi hadn't told her he was visiting. Why would he go there without saying anything? "Okay, Mummy. Rest well. I love you." When she ended the call, she felt a strange chill. That evening, Femi returned home earlier than usual. He came in smiling, carrying shopping bags. "For you," he said. "I was thinking about you all day." She tried to smile. "Thank you." He sat beside her, brushing her hair with his hand. "You're quiet today." "I'm fine," she said quickly. He looked into her eyes for a long moment. "You're learning. Good girl." Her stomach tightened. Sounded less like love, more like control. Still, she stayed. Because where would she go? Back to the same small room in Surulere? Back to eating Gary for dinner? Back to a life where no one cared if she cried? Sometimes comfort can trap you worse than poverty. Days turned into weeks. Femi's love came with rules. She couldn't wear short dresses unless he picked them. She couldn't post pictures online. She couldn't leave the house without a driver. He told her it was for her safety, but it felt like a cage. One Sunday afternoon, she finally gathered courage to talk. "Femi," she said quietly, "I want to visit my mum. She misses me." He looked up from his laptop. "I already sent her money." I know, but I want to see her. He closed the laptop slowly and stared at her. So, you don't trust me to take care of her? No, that's not. Then why do you need to see her? His voice had that sharp edge again. She immediately backed down. Okay, it's fine. He stood up and walked toward her. Good. Don't let small people pull you down. You're above them now. She wanted to say, I'm not above my mother. But she didn't. She only nodded. That night, when Femi was asleep, she sneaked into the guest room and called Amaka. Amaka, she whispered. Chitara, where have you been? I've called you like 100 times. I'm sorry. Things have been strange. Strange how? Chitara hesitated. He hit me once. There was silence. Then Amaka's voice came low and angry. Once is too many. You need to leave. I can't, Chitara said, tears filling her eyes. He helped my mum. I owe him. Owe him what? Your life. Before Chitara could answer, she heard footsteps in the hallway. Her blood ran cold. Amaka, I have to go, she whispered, hanging up quickly and deleting the call from her log. The next morning, Femi was unusually quiet during breakfast. Who were you talking to last night? He asked suddenly. She froze. I wasn't. He slammed his hand on the table. The glass shook. Don't lie to me. Tears welled up. I was just checking something online. He stood, grabbed her wrist, and pulled her close. You think I don't know everything that happens in this house? Her lips trembled. Femi, please, you're hurting me. He stared at her for a long time, breathing heavily. Then suddenly he let go. You're testing me, Chitara. Don't ever do that again. She nodded quickly, trembling. When he left the room, she sank to the floor, shaking. The fear had fully settled in her bones now. Later that day, she went to the balcony and looked down at the gate. The guard stood there, armed. She realized she couldn't even leave if she wanted to. Femi had taken care of everything. Her mum, her rent, her life, until nothing in it belonged to her anymore. She thought about running, but where would she go? Who would believe her? To the world, she was lucky. The poor girl who caught a billionaire's heart. Only she knew the truth. She wasn't loved. She was owned. That night, as she lay in bed pretending to sleep, she heard Femi on the phone in the next room. Yes, she's here, he said. She doesn't suspect anything yet. Chitara's eyes snapped open. Her body went cold. Suspect what? She thought. She crept closer to the door and listened. Yes, Femi said again. Tomorrow night. Make sure it's ready. Her heart pounded so loud she thought he would hear it. Tomorrow night. Make sure it's ready. What was he planning? Before she could hear more, the floor creaked under her foot. The talking stopped. And then she heard his voice, low and dangerous. Chitara? She froze. He was standing behind her, the phone still in his hand. And the look in his eyes told her something she didn't want to know. Something dark was coming. Chitara's whole body went numb. Femi stood there in the dim hallway, his face half lit by the bedside lamp. His phone was still in his hand, but now his eyes were locked on her, sharp and cold like glass. What are you doing here? He asked. His voice was calm, too calm, and that scared her more than shouting ever could. I was just looking for water, she stammered. I couldn't sleep. He didn't blink. At my door. Her throat went dry. I heard something. I thought maybe you were calling me. He stepped closer. Slow. Silent. The air between them felt heavy. You were listening to my call. No, Femi. I swear, I wasn't. Before she could finish, he grabbed her arm. Not too tight at first, but firm enough that she knew there was no escape. You're lying, he said softly. You think I don't know when people lie to me? She tried to pull back, her heart racing. You're hurting me. His jaw tightened. For a second, she thought he might actually hit her again. But instead, he smiled. A thin, eerie smile that didn't reach his eyes. I forgive you, he said suddenly. Chitara blinked, confused. You do? Yes, but remember something, my love. This house has rules. And the first rule is trust. He let go of her arm, turned away, and walked back into the room, shutting the door quietly behind him. Chitara stood frozen in the hallway for a long time, shaking. Her mind was running in circles. What was he planning for tomorrow night? What did he mean by, make sure it's ready? She wanted to pack her things and run. But where? Femi's world had swallowed her whole. The guards, the cameras, even the house staff, everyone worked for him. That night, she didn't sleep. Every sound felt like danger. By morning, Femi acted as if nothing had happened. He was cheerful again, dressed in a navy blue suit, smelling of cologne and money. I have a meeting in Lekki today, he said over breakfast. There's an event tonight. You'll be ready by 8. An event? She asked, her voice still trembling. He smiled. You'll meet some people. Just be perfect. Then he left. The moment the front door closed, Chitara finally let out the breath she had been holding. She walked around the house trying to calm down. Every corner reminded her of him. Every step echoed like she was walking in someone else's life. In the living room, she saw a file folder on the table. Something about it drew her attention. She hesitated, looked around, and slowly opened it. Inside were photographs. Her photos, pictures of her from before she met him. Some from her Instagram, some from her shop in Yaba, and even one with her mother. But these weren't printed casually. Each had notes beside it. Dates, places, times. Like someone had been tracking her for months before they even met. Her hands trembled. She felt sick. Who does this? She whispered. Then she saw another photo, one of Amaka. A red mark was drawn around her face. Chitara's stomach turned. She quickly put everything back and ran to her room. Her breath was fast. She wanted to call Amaka, to tell her everything, but fear stopped her. Femi could be back any second, and she didn't know who was listening. Hours passed slowly. By 6 p.m., the house came alive again. Maids rushing, cars arriving, food being prepared. Femi's driver knocked on her door. Madam, Oga said make you get ready. The car go move soon. Her mind was spinning. Should I go? What if that's what he meant by tomorrow night? What if this event isn't an event at all? Still, she dressed up. A silver gown lay on the bed, perfectly her size. She didn't even remember owning it. She put it on anyway, staring at herself in the mirror. Her reflection looked beautiful but trapped. When she came downstairs, Femi was waiting, smiling like nothing was wrong. You look perfect, he said, offering his hand. The drive to the venue was quiet. Too quiet. Femi scrolled through his phone the whole time, not saying a word. Chitara stared out the window, watching the city lights blur past, her hands shaking in her lap. When the car finally stopped, she looked out and froze. This wasn't an event hall. It was an isolated beach house outside the city, surrounded by palm trees and security guards. There were no other cars, no music, no crowd. Just silence and the sound of waves. Her voice was small. Femi, what is this place? He smiled faintly. Just relax. You'll see. 2 men in black suits approached the car and opened her door. Evening, Ma, one of them said. His face was blank. Femi stepped out and motioned for her to follow. The sand under her heels felt uneven, strange. The moonlight cast long shadows across the ground. As they walked closer to the house, she saw faint light glowing from inside. Candles, not bulbs. The air smelled like incense and sea salt. Her pulse was pounding. Femi, I don't like this. He didn't answer. When they entered, Chitara's heart nearly stopped. The living room was filled with strange objects. Statues, burning candles, and a large framed photo of Femi's late father. On the table was something covered with a white cloth. Femi, what is going on? She whispered. He turned to her, his face calm but his eyes distant. You said you'd do anything for me, right? Her lips parted. Yes, but... He stepped closer and brushed a strand of hair from her face. Then tonight, prove it. She backed away slowly. Prove what? Before he could answer, one of the men came forward with a small silver bowl filled with what looked like red liquid. Femi turned back to her. This is how you show loyalty. This is how you become part of my world forever. Her knees felt weak. What do you mean? He smiled. You'll understand soon. She tried to move, but one of the men blocked the door. Her heart was beating so fast it hurt. Femi, I want to go home. His face hardened. You are home. Then he picked up the bowl. And that was when she realized the cost he talked about that night wasn't just words. He really meant it. Because love with a billionaire like Femi didn't cost money. Cost everything else. He took a slow step toward her, lifting the bowl with both hands, the red light reflecting in his eyes. And before she could run, he said in a low voice, "It's time." Chitara's heart pounded so hard she could barely hear herself breathe. Femi stood before her, holding the silver bowl filled with thick, dark liquid. The candlelight flickered across his face, making him look like a stranger. "Femi, what's in that bowl?" she whispered, stepping back. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hides more than it shows. "It's nothing to fear, my love. Just a test of trust." "Trust?" Her voice shook. "You brought me here to drink something I don't understand?" He didn't answer. Instead, he motioned to the two men beside him. They stepped closer, their faces emotionless. "Femi, please," she said, her back hitting the wall. "You're scaring me." He set the bowl down carefully on the table. "You told me you loved me, Chitara. You said you'd do anything for me. Did you lie?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't lie, but this isn't love." Femi chuckled softly, the sound cold and sharp. "You poor thing. You think love is dinners and gifts. No, love is sacrifice." She shook her head. "Not this kind." Femi turned to one of the men and said, "Bring it." The man left the room for a few seconds, then returned carrying a small wooden box. He placed it gently on the table. Femi opened it slowly. Inside was a gold chain, a folded piece of paper, and what looked like a photograph, her photograph. Chitara froze. "Why do you have that?" she asked. He didn't answer directly. "You see, Chitara, when I first met you, it wasn't an accident." Her stomach dropped. "What?" He looked her straight in the eyes. "You were chosen." Her breath caught. "Chosen for what?" He smiled again. "You'll understand when it's over." "Over?" she repeated, panic rising. "No, Femi, I'm leaving." She tried to run toward the door, but the men stepped in front of her. "Move!" she cried, pushing at them, but they didn't budge. Femi's voice was calm, almost gentle. "Don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm not part of whatever this is," she shouted, her tears falling now. He sighed. "You are, Chitara. The moment you said you loved me, the moment you accepted everything I gave you, you became part of it. I own you. Your life is tied to mine now." She shook her head violently. "You can't own me. I'm not a thing." Femi walked closer, his eyes dark and distant. "That's what you all say, until you realize what real love costs." Then he picked up the chain from the box and placed it in her trembling hand. "Put it on," he said. Her fingers shook so badly she could barely hold it. "No." His smile disappeared. "I said put it on." She stood frozen, her body refusing to move. Then, in one quick motion, Femi grabbed her wrist and tried to clasp the chain around her neck. She screamed and shoved him away. The chain fell to the floor with a metallic clink. For a moment, everything stopped. The men looked at Femi, waiting. His calm face twisted into something else. Rage. "Pick it up," he said through his teeth. Chitara's chest heaved. "I'm not doing this." Femi's voice rose. "Pick it up." The walls seemed to vibrate from the sound. Chitara covered her ears, sobbing. "Why are you doing this to me? What did I ever do to you?" He stared at her in silence, then leaned close and said, "You made me feel something I shouldn't have, and now you have to fix it." Before she could ask what he meant, one of the men grabbed her arm. "No, leave me," she screamed, struggling to break free. But the man held her tight, forcing her toward the table. Femi picked up the bowl again. "Just drink it, and it will all be over. You'll belong to me completely." She shook her head wildly. Never. In her panic, she reached for the candle stand and swung it at him. The metal base hit his arm, and the bowl fell to the ground, spilling the red liquid across the white tiles. "You fool!" he roared, his voice echoing through the house. The two men rushed toward her, but Chitara didn't wait. She darted for the open window near the corner. Her bare feet hit the cold floor as she climbed onto the sill. "Grab her!" Femi shouted. She jumped. The fall was short but painful, her ankle twisting as she hit the sand outside. She hissed in pain but forced herself up. The guards at the gate shouted when they saw her running barefoot across the compound. "Madam, stop!" But she didn't stop. She ran into the dark night, her gown tearing, her heart slamming in her chest. Behind her, she could hear Femi shouting orders. "Find her! Now!" The road outside was empty, only the sound of waves and wind. She stumbled through the sand, crying, limping, looking for light, for anyone. Finally, in the distance she saw headlights, a small car approaching. She waved her arms desperately. "Help! Please help me!" The car slowed, then stopped. A middle-aged man stepped out wearing a simple shirt. "Madam, are you okay?" "Please!" she cried, clutching his arm. "They're trying to kill me." The man looked behind her. "Who?" "Please just drive." He didn't ask more. He opened the door, and she climbed in, trembling. As they sped away, she looked back. Through the darkness, she could still see Femi's house far behind, the faint light of candles glowing through the windows. She didn't know where they were going. She didn't even know the man's name. But for the first time in months, she felt air in her lungs again. Still, deep inside her heart, she knew it wasn't over. Because Femi wasn't the kind of man who let things go. And by running from him, she had broken a rule he never forgave. The rule that said once you love him, you never leave. That night, as she sat in the back seat crying, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. She hesitated, then opened it. "You can run, Chitara. But remember this. Love has a price, and I always collect." Her hands went cold. The message disappeared from her screen before she could even screenshot it. She looked out the window again, and for a moment, she could have sworn she saw a black G-Wagon following far behind in the darkness. The car raced down the lonely coastal road, the night swallowing the sound of its tires. Chitara's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Her face was streaked with tears and dust, her silver gown torn and wet with sand. The man driving kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror. "Madam, are you sure you're okay?" he asked softly. Chitara nodded weakly. "Please, just keep driving." He nodded and pressed harder on the accelerator. "I'm taking you to my sister's house in Aja. She's a nurse. You look like you need rest." "Thank you," she whispered. Her throat felt dry. Every bump on the road made her ankle throb with pain. But she didn't care. She was free, or at least she thought she was. As the car entered the dimly lit streets of Aja, she began to relax. The chaos of the beach, the candles, the bowl. It all felt like a nightmare that had somehow come to life. When they arrived, the man honked twice. A woman in her 30s opened the gate, wearing a nurse's uniform and a worried look. "Chica, who be this?" the woman asked. "Found her on the road," he said. "She say somebody dey chase her." The woman rushed to help. "Ah, fine girl like you, what happened?" Chitara tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "Please, I just need a place to rest." The nurse guided her inside the small bungalow. The air smelled of disinfectant and soup. "Sit down," she said kindly. "I'll bring water." Chitara sat on the couch and buried her face in her hands. Her mind was racing. What if Femi finds me? What if those men are looking right now? When the nurse returned, she handed her a cup. "Drink this. You're safe here. Okay?" Chitara sipped slowly. The water felt cool, calming her for the first time that night. "Thank you," she murmured. "You can stay the night," the nurse said. "But tomorrow you should tell the police." "The police?" Chitara's voice trembled. "Yes, now. Whoever did this to you can't go free." Chitara wanted to agree, but fear held her tongue. Femi was powerful, too powerful. He had connections everywhere. If she reported him, he'd find her before morning. Instead, she just nodded. Okay, tomorrow. The nurse smiled kindly. Good. My name is Ada. You can rest in the spare room. Chitara managed a weak smile. Thank you, Ada. That night, as she lay on the narrow bed, her body finally gave in. Her eyes closed, but her mind refused to rest. Every time she drifted off, she saw flashes of Femi's face, the red bowl, and that message. Love has a price, and I always collect. She woke up 3 times in the night, sweating, gasping, clutching the blanket like it could protect her. Each time she told herself, he can't find me, he can't. But deep down she wasn't sure. By morning, Ada knocked softly. Breakfast is ready. Chitara sat up slowly. The sun was already bright through the window. She hadn't slept properly, but at least she was alive. As she ate, Ada sat across from her. You didn't tell me your name yesterday. Chitara, she said quietly. Ada smiled. Beautiful name. You must be from the east. Yes, Enugu. So what happened, Chitara? Who are you running from? Chitara hesitated, then whispered, a man. Ada frowned. Boyfriend. She shook her head. Something worse. Ada's eyes softened. He hurt you. Chitara looked down at her plate. He owned me. Ada sighed deeply. I don't know what that means, but if you need help, I'll stand with you. Tears filled Chitara's eyes. You don't understand. He's not normal. He's rich, powerful. People obey him. Even the police. Ada reached out and touched her hand. No one is untouchable. You can't live in fear. Before Chitara could respond, her phone buzzed on the table. Her heart stopped. The screen flashed an unknown number again. Ada frowned. Who's that? Chitara's hand shook as she picked it up. She didn't answer, but the call ended after 2 rings. Then a message came in. You shouldn't have run. The world is smaller than you think. Her throat went dry. Ada noticed her expression. Who is it? Chitara stood up suddenly. I have to go. Go where? Ada asked, alarmed. I can't stay here. Ada grabbed her arm. Chitara, calm down. You're safe here. But Chitara couldn't shake the fear. She ran to the window and peered outside. A black car was parked across the street. Its windows were tinted. The engine wasn't running. It just sat there silent. Chica, Ada called to her brother. Come quick. Chica rushed in. What is it? That car. Ada pointed. Has it been there? Chica frowned. I saw it when I came back from the shop. I thought maybe neighbor get visitor. Chitara's knees went weak. It's them, she whispered. They found me. Before Ada could react, the car door opened. 2 men stepped out, dressed in black suits. Ada gasped. Who are those people? Chitara backed away from the window, shaking. I told you, he always finds me. The men walked toward the gate slowly, confidently. Ada grabbed her phone. I'm calling the police. Chica ran to the door. Lock everything. But before they could do anything, a loud knock echoed through the gate. Bang, bang, bang. Open the gate, one of the men shouted. Ada's hands trembled as she held the phone. Hello? Police? Please come quickly. Chitara pressed herself against the wall, tears falling. He said he'd collect. He said I'd never leave. The banging grew louder. Open this gate now. Chica shouted back. Who are you people? The voice replied coldly. We're here for Chitara. Femi sent us. Ada's face went pale. Jesus Christ. The sound of metal hitting metal filled the air as they tried to force the gate open. Chitara's mind was spinning. She had nowhere else to run. No one who could save her this time. Then suddenly the sound stopped. Silence. Ada looked at Chica. Did they go? Chica peeped through the curtain. I can't see them. Then a crash. The back door burst open. Chitara screamed. 2 men in black stepped inside. One grabbed Chica and threw him to the ground. The other moved toward Chitara, his hand reaching into his coat. Don't touch her. Ada shouted, grabbing a kitchen knife. But before she could swing it, one man slapped her so hard she fell. Chitara backed into the corner, crying, "Please, don't hurt them. I'll come with you. Just don't hurt them." The taller man nodded. "Good girl. Let's go." They dragged her outside, ignoring Ada's cries. The black car's door opened, and she was pushed inside. The car sped off, tires screeching on the road. Through the rear window, Chitara could see Ada and Chica standing helplessly by the gate, shouting her name. She pressed her palms to the window, tears streaming down her face. "Please," she whispered to the man beside her. "Where are you taking me?" He looked at her briefly, then turned his gaze forward. "Home." And just like that, she realized Femi had never lost her. He had just let her think she was free. The black car moved swiftly through the early morning streets of Lagos, cutting through the dawn traffic like a ghost. Chitara sat between two men in the back seat, her wrists trembling as she clutched the edge of her torn gown. The one on her right had a scar running from his cheek to his jaw. He kept glancing at her, emotionless. The other simply stared ahead. "Where are you taking me?" she whispered again. No one answered. She looked out the window. Blurred trees, sleeping houses, market women setting up their stalls. Normal life passing by while her world collapsed. After what felt like forever, the car turned into a private road lined with tall palm trees. Security lights flickered along the fence. Then she saw it, Femi's mansion. Her heart sank. The gates opened without a word. The car drove in and stopped near the entrance. The men got out first. One opened her door. "Get down." Her legs felt weak, but she obeyed. The morning sun painted the white building gold. It looked peaceful, beautiful even. But to her, it was a prison dressed in marble. Inside, everything was silent. No staff in sight. Just the hum of the air conditioning and the faint ticking of a clock. Then Femi appeared at the top of the staircase, dressed in a crisp white shirt, holding a cup of tea like nothing had happened. "Welcome home," he said. Chitara froze. "Why are you doing this to me?" He smiled faintly. "Because you ran. You made me look like a fool." "I was scared," she shouted. "You tried to force me into something I didn't understand." Femi walked down slowly, each step echoing through the hall. "You were never supposed to understand. You were supposed to trust me." "Trust?" She laughed bitterly, her voice breaking. "You locked me up, watched my every move, hit me, and called it love." He sighed and took a sip from his cup. "You see, this is what happens when people from small worlds meet big ones. They start confusing discipline for control." Chitara clenched her fists. "You're sick." The men moved slightly, waiting for his signal, but Femi raised his hand. "Leave us." They hesitated. "I said leave," he repeated, his tone sharp. They nodded and walked out, leaving her alone with him. The moment the door closed, he set his cup down and looked at her differently. "You embarrassed me, Chitara. Do you know how it feels for everyone to whisper that Femi's woman ran away?" Her voice trembled. "I'm not your woman." He smiled faintly. "You are, whether you like it or not." She backed away slowly. "I'll tell the police." Femi chuckled. "The police?" He walked closer. "You think they'll believe a poor girl who lived off a rich man's money? You think they'll pick your word over mine?" Her lips quivered, but she stayed silent. He took another step. "You see, Chitara, I don't destroy people who love me. I just reshape them." She could feel tears forming, but she refused to let them fall. "You can't break me, Femi." He tilted his head slightly. "We'll see." Then he turned away, walking toward his study. "You'll stay in your room. No phone, no calls. Someone will bring your meals. When you're ready to behave, we'll talk again." He left her standing there, shaking. The moment he disappeared, she ran upstairs to her old room. The door clicked behind her. She leaned against it, breathing heavily. The window was still locked from outside, but she noticed something new. Her old bag, placed neatly on the bed. Her phone, charger, even her shoes, all cleaned and arranged. It was as if he had been waiting for her return. She picked up her phone. Dead battery. When she plugged it in, it powered on. But there was no SIM card. He had removed it. That night, Chitara sat by the window, staring at the city lights in the distance. She whispered softly, "God, if you're real, please don't let him win." Then she heard footsteps in the hallway. She froze. The door handle turned. She quickly hid behind the curtain, heart pounding. The door creaked open, and a faint beam of light entered the room. "Chitara," a voice whispered. It wasn't Femi's. It was a woman's. Chitara stepped out slowly. A young maid stood at the door, nervous. "Madam, I no suppose talk to you, but I get something to tell you." "What is it?" Chitara whispered. The maid looked around. "Olga plans something tomorrow night. I hear am with my ear. Him say, this time no mistake." Chitara's blood ran cold. "What's happening tomorrow?" The maid shook her head quickly. "I no know, but him talk say, prepare the house, get everything ready. Madam, you need to leave this place tonight." Tears filled Chitara's eyes. "I can't. He has guards everywhere." The maid reached into her apron and pulled out a small phone. "Take. Nah, my second phone. Small, but it go work. Hide am. When you see chance, run." Chitara's hands trembled as she took it. "What's your name?" The maid hesitated. "I been Ngozi. But if dem catch me, I go say you steal am." "Thank you," Chitara whispered. Ngozi nodded and slipped out quietly, closing the door behind her. Chitara clutched the small phone like a lifeline. She switched it on. 1 bar of signal. No credit, but it was enough to dial a number. She hesitated, then typed Amaka. The phone rang once, twice. Then, "Hello? Who's this?" Chitara's voice cracked. "Amaka, it's me." Amaka gasped. "Chitara, Jesus, where are you? We've been looking for you. Ada said 2 men took you." "I'm back at his house," she whispered. "He found me. He's planning something. I don't know what, but—" The line cut off. Chitara froze. "Hello? Amaka? Hello?" No answer. The screen blinked, no network. Then she heard it. Footsteps again. This time heavier. Male. She quickly hid the phone under her pillow and sat on the bed, pretending to sleep. The door opened slowly. Femi stood there in the darkness, his silhouette framed by the hallway light. He said nothing for a long time, just stared. Then finally he spoke in a calm, deep voice. "You called someone, didn't you?" Her breath caught. "No." He smiled faintly. "You always forget something, Chitara. I built this house to know everything that happens inside it." He took a step closer. "Even your whispers." Her heart dropped. He reached into his pocket and held up a small black device. The maid's phone. Her blood went cold. Femi's smile vanished. "You still don't understand the cost of loving me, do you?" He moved closer, his face inches from hers. "Tomorrow night you will." Then he walked out, locking the door behind him. Chitara sat frozen in the dark, tears rolling down her face. The phone was gone. Ngozi was in danger. And tomorrow night, whatever Femi had planned was coming.